Welcome to this episode of Walk It, Talk It. This is your host, Patricia, coming to you from Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in. My followers are growing, so I am so hyped right now. We are here simply to educate, to engage, and to empower. So as I discussed on last week's episode, one of the main reasons that I decided to create this podcast is because people are always asking me about my story. How did you get where you are now? And since I just hit this milestone of 40, I know I don't look it, but since I hit this 40 milestone and I'm so blessed, I want to be able to share and empower others as you guys are going along your journey. And it's definitely a mutual thing. As stated, I am not an expert on everything, but I am an expert on my own experiences. And I want to bring in experts and interview different folks. So today I'm getting an opportunity to bring somebody on that I have grown to love, a coach of mine, and just going to be sharing some information about CBD, which is something that's really hot in the news right now. So, Terrence, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Patricia?
I'm doing good. So, Terrence Moore is a friend of mine who is a knowledgeable person in the industry of CBD. So, I have some experience with using some CBD products, and I've had different people ask me, what is it? Is it weed? Do it get you high? That could be a good thing for some people, and it's a bad thing for others. So today, I want to give a little bit of time for us to get some true education on what CBD is and what it is not. So, Terrence, give us a little bit on the background of CBD and how it's helping people and growing around the country.
Yes, absolutely, Patricia. Appreciate the opportunity to share this afternoon. And I just want to kind of start off by quickly introducing myself to let people know, I don't have a medical background or anything like that. But just like everybody else, I was curious about CBD and medical marijuana and really trying to dive in. It's a huge trend out there. A lot of people are trying to find their way in from an investment perspective, and then just also from a health and wellness perspective as well. And so, a little bit about myself. I did exactly what everybody, and a lot of the formula is the same, I know, around the country. I was told to go to school, get good grades so that I can go off to college and get that good job. So that's exactly what I did. But at the same time, I'm always looking for a better way, looking for other options. So for the last 6 years, I've been an entrepreneur as well. It's a different world out there as an entrepreneur, but the health and wellness space has a tremendous amount of growth going on. And so that's where I've been focused at for the last 6 years, and definitely over the last 2.5, really diving into the CBD space. And so let me just kind of jump in and address the difference between hemp and marijuana. Again, most people immediately think of marijuana when you start talking about cannabis. However, there are different species of plants within the cannabis family. So you have both hemp and marijuana. And the big difference really comes down to a few physical characteristics when you look at those plants. But then also what most people are interested in is the chemical compounds that make up those plants. So you have THC. That's what gets you high. I know you mentioned weed and you talked about getting high. That's what most people are familiar with, right? The THC, that's what causes that high or euphoric or psychoactive feeling. And the government still has a lot of controls around the THC component when it comes to the cannabis family because of, again, that psychoactive state that it produces for individuals. However, CBD, it's a totally different compound that's found inside of the plants. CBD stands for cannabidiol. If you're looking at the slides and following along here, cannabidiol is one of over 400 compounds that's found in the hemp plant. And then there's no psychoactive effect. So again, you get the medicinal benefits without the high. Now, I know that may disappoint some people. A lot of people are looking for that high feeling, or, they want to feel good, so to speak. And people will ask me, will this cause any sort of addiction or anything like that? And my answer is always, if you can imagine being addicted to feeling good, then the answer is absolutely yes. But unfortunately, there's no recreational component that some people are looking for. And there's a lot of studies out there where people are getting a lot of different relief for different ailments. And the reason why CBD works for so many different people in different ways is because of this system that we have in our body called the ECS. ECS is short for the human endocannabinoid system. Basically, we have a series of receptors that are all throughout our body, and our body these receptors are calling for the CBD. So when you take a product, the CBD goes in, attaches to these receptors, and it helps to create balance throughout your entire body. And then I can't help, but mention the fact of, from a business perspective, I talked about being an entrepreneur, and $22 billion is what the industry was projected to grow to. This article is a little bit old. The projections I know have been revised slightly on the higher end. So we're talking about even more growth in just a few short years. You're talking about over $20 billion worth of growth. That's billion with a B, if anybody can't understand what I'm saying. And that creates a tremendous financial opportunity for any entrepreneur who's out there. And so that's what's really driving a lot of the excitement from a business perspective. So hopefully that gave people a little bit of a flavor for what we're talking about and what drives the interest in CBD. But, I'm just excited to have a conversation. And if there's certain areas you want me to dive into, then, hey, this is your show. So I'm just a guest here.
Thanks, Terrence. That's amazing. I mean, we're talking about a whole lot of money. Of course, with you talking and me just listening, I'm thinking of a lot of questions that come to mind as you introduced me to the CBD products, and I'm a user, but I'm going to just go back to before I became a user, some questions that I wanted to ask, because over the last year or so, I've seen CBD start popping up everywhere. I'm seeing it in the gas station. I'm seeing it in Burlington, Coke Factory, and there is a wide range of prices and different types of products. So how do you know which product is the best product to use? How do you measure if a product is too expensive? Like, what are some things to look for to really know what you're getting?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Patricia. Like you said, CBD is popping up all over the place. And, when you start talking about the type of money that's going to exchange hands in this country, we're a capitalistic society. So people are trying to find a way to get their piece. You see CBD popping up in retail establishments and, gas stations and all kinds of different places where you may not even expect to see it. However, people know that there's individuals who are interested, and so they're putting it out there. But you have to be careful, as you're alluding to, and you want to look for certain things. The product, first of all, when you look at packaging and labeling, we all see stuff. If it looks cheap, if it looks bootleg, then it probably is, right? So looking at the packaging, that's the first great indication just from a visual perspective. And then that product should be very clearly labeled. You should be able to look and read and understand exactly what's in there. It should be clearly labeled as far as how much CBD is within the product. One misconception that I want to clear up that some people have, a product can be labeled hemp oil or hemp seed oil. And so there's a distinction when you're talking about CBD oil versus hemp oil. Hemp oil primarily comes from the seed of the plant. There's a lot of health benefits. People use hemp seed heart and a lot of things for more of just overall health and wellness, but there's no CBD in that particular part of the plant. You have to pull the CBD, extract it from the leaves, the flowers, the stems. So again, you want to see the words or the letters CBD or hemp extract very clearly articulated on the label. If it's not, then there may not be any CBD in there. Not to say that there aren't health benefits, but sometimes I hear people where they find a product and it says 10,000 milligram hemp oil and it costs $19.99. Well, yeah, that's true because it comes from the seed. There's no CBD. If you see a CBD product that says 10,000 milligrams and it's $20, then I can tell you that's another indication that you need to run the other way, right? Too good to be true. You're just not going to find a product that cheap out there for that amount of CBD oil. So, just kind of using common sense measures and methods. Ask the person questions. The person who's selling it to you or marketing it, they should be able to answer some basic questions. where does the hemp come from, right? I mean, we have a lot of issues going on around the world right now with the COVID-19 situation. So you want to understand where are the farms located at, right? Are these genetically modified products or are they all natural? Those are questions that you can start to ask. And if the person can't answer those questions, just kind of maybe pause and go do some more homework and go look around at some other brands that are out there. And then the last thing that I'll say, companies should also be able to provide something that's called a certificate of analysis, COA for short. If you ask that question, they should be able to produce it for you. They should be able to provide a third-party lab test that shows and certifies exactly what's in the product. So that's going to give you some reassurance from a quality standpoint, from an overall safety when it comes to your health and wellness. And if they can't produce that, then again, just kind of back off. There's a lot of brands out there, continue to go shop around and find another brand. But all of the things that I'm mentioning, there's cost associated with it. So that's the reason why you're going to see a little bit of an elevated cost when it comes to CBD. There's, processing and quality checks and controls that have to be in place. And so that's going to drive some brands to be higher than others, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the right product for you. It's just like you go out there and buy a new car, right? I mean, you can buy a lemon and get it real cheap, or you can buy a vehicle that's actually going to take you somewhere.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. It kind of makes me think a little bit about from an employer perspective. There are employers out there now, just with my HR background, that are saying if you're caught using CBD, then you're going to lose your job. And it seems to be related to the idea that all CBD is the same or related to THC. How would you respond to some of those objections from employers from just not understanding the makeup and the differences between quality?
Yeah, so quality is obviously going to be critical, but at the same time, I'm going to go back to the first slide that I talked about, because what's really important to understand is the difference, again, between THC versus CBD. I live here in Michigan. I'm in the Detroit metro area, and we've gone through constant evolution around laws related to marijuana, and all the way to the point where recreational marijuana or recreational cannabis, I should say, is legal in the state. But you bring up an important point, because I tell people all the time, we can change laws or make things legal all we want, but if companies are still going to require drug testing, if companies aren't going to change their policies, then it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because a lot of people are going to put themselves in a position where their livelihood may be impacted. And so CBD brings up a huge benefit for people who are looking to get those medical or medicinal benefits, but still not have to worry about failing a drug test. So it really starts around education for the employee and also education for the employer. And as we're doing that, there's really three different types of CBD that are out there in the market. You have what's called a CBD isolate. So all the other cannabinoids in the plant are stripped away, and you just isolate the CBD component. That's how you're really able to get a product that's THC free. And then you also have what's called a broad spectrum CBD, and that brings in more cannabinoids, things like CBG and other things out of the plant. You're going to pick up more benefits potentially, but at the same time, you also might get traces of THC. And then you have the full spectrum product, where they're using everything that's inside of the plant, the full spectrum of cannabinoids, just as the name suggests. And with those types of products, you do pick up traces of THC, because the hemp plant does still have THC in it. Even though it's lower levels, there is still THC in the plant. So with the full spectrum product, now you're picking up traces. People, if it will build up in your system, and now you could have some concerns around drug testing. Even if it's legal from a federal perspective and considered THC free, as long as the product is less than 0.3%, it's considered THC free. But again, you can still have traces. So if you're a professional, you're looking for a product, you want the CBD benefits, go after an isolate. That will assure you or give you the best likelihood that you're going to get a product that's THC free. And also that kind of ties back into your first question, where you asked about, what should you look for? What types of questions should you ask from a quality perspective?
Mm-hmm.
ask what type of CBD is used in a product. Again, if the person can't clearly articulate or let you know that this is a full spectrum product or we use a CBD isolate, then you want to be careful because you have to make informed and educated decisions around this entire industry. And that's why a lot of people are so nervous about it, because
Yeah.
there's sometimes just not good information out there.
Absolutely. Well, you're dropping so much knowledge today, which is why I'm excited to have you on, just to demystify some of the information that's out there that's not completely accurate. I could go on and on and on. I've got a lot of questions, but we don't want to hold you too long. We know you're busy, but we will connect with the listeners that may have more questions. We may have you back on a future segment, but before we end, I did want to just kind of touch base on the second part of what you said about investment. From an investment perspective, what does that look like, and have you taken on that opportunity for yourself?
Yeah, so great question, Patricia. And again, I'm an entrepreneur and looking for opportunities. And I'm going back to this slide, right? Because I see $22 billion. I'm looking right in the center of that screen. I see my man, LeBron James. I'm from Northeast Ohio originally. And LeBron, he's from Akron, Ohio. But I'm not 6'9", 250 pounds, and I can't dunk a basketball like LeBron, but I can participate in this $22 billion. So an exciting time right now, and I'm absolutely positioned in the CBD space, more so on the front end distribution side. There's a lot of different ways people may try to get into the overall medical marijuana space. The first thing that comes to people's mind tends to be, I'm going to go out and open up a dispensary, right? I'm going to open up me a weed store or a weed shop, right? And let people come in.
Yeah.
Especially if you, and so when people go through that process, what they realize is that the capital requirements are so high to the point where it prices a lot of people out of the market. So when you start talking about application fees that are non-refundable, $50,000, who has that kind of money just to throw out for an application? I know I didn't have that kind of money, especially knowing that my application may or may not be approved. And so, when you start talking about $50,000 application fee, and then just to open up the dispensary, you got to have, $500,000 to $1 million, depending on where you're at in the country, in the bank to open up a facility. It prices a lot of people out of the market. And there's still a lot of red tape around it. The industry, medical marijuana, is being controlled by the government, just the way liquor licenses are controlled. And so the number of people who can even get a license to open up a dispensary legally, it's very, very slim and small if you can meet the capital requirements. So from a CBD perspective, there are no special requirements. There are no special licenses that are needed. And you don't have to have a ton of capital. Of course, if you want to go out and start a farm and start growing hemp, then that's going to be a little bit more capital intensive. If you're trying to manufacture a product, you got to go through and set up all of the contracts and get things in place. But I kind of went an unpopular route, if you will. Some people think I'm a little bit crazy, especially when people who know me and they say, you went to Duke and got an MBA, and why are you involved with network marketing? Kind of dropping probably a big elephant in the room right now. At bringing up the word network marketing, but to me, it's just a go-to-market strategy, and it put me in a position where I can go into something that was more turnkey, quality products that I can go out and just simply help to educate and get products into the market and not have to worry about the high capital requirements that other avenues may require. So very low investment, high potential return. That's what got me into the CBD space. And, hey, I haven't looked back.
Awesome. So much information and just a wealth to think about and consider, as we definitely are all thinking about now. What are our plan B, C, and D streams of income, and just the uncertainty of what's happening right now in the world. I think, we all have to constantly be aware of how we can stay in control of our own economic opportunity. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me today and share with the listeners. Any final thoughts or any last words you would want to say to somebody who's thinking about CBD education, use, or investment?
Yeah, so first off, let me just thank you for having me on today, Patricia. Definitely appreciate the opportunity to share with the listeners. And from a closing remarks, let me just kind of tell everybody and remind you to continue to do your research. I know I shared some information here today with you, and hopefully it was insightful and helpful to you. But also just go out and do your own research, right? There's a lot of information that's available if you go out to the internet. If you're curious about the brand that I'm a part of or what we're talking about today, you can always go look at why.oxzgen.com. So y.oxygen.com, spelled with a Z. There's a lot of great educational information there talking about the industry, videos from people like Dr. Oz and others that can help to just kind of reaffirm some of the stuff that we're talking about today. So that's one avenue and one piece of advice that I would give people. And then also, just go out and regardless if it's this or something else, when we're talking about entrepreneurship, you got to have multiple streams of income. I keep telling people every chance I can get during this moment, what we're experiencing in the country is very unfortunate. I know a lot of people have been experiencing loss and, it's a tough situation for a lot of people. And companies are realizing that maybe they're not going to need as many people. It's going to be a tough spot for a lot of people coming back where companies will start to cut back, and some of the job loss that we're seeing or layoffs that we're seeing right now, it may become permanent. And so you can't depend on a single source of income in the world that we live in today. Things happen. People got hit in the recession 10 years ago. People are getting impacted now with this COVID-19 situation. So you want to always find a way to position you and your family to have multiple streams in place, to have multiple investments in place, so that you are able to sustain and continue to press forward. Network marketing, I have to throw a plug out there for it. Again, I know it gets a lot of bad press out there, but it's because of the way that people explain, and a lot of people don't understand the power of it. You guys see the picture up on the screen possibly. I've got a wife and 3 kids. So to be able to be at home, operate my business, to be able to not have to go out in public, not have to worry about whether my boss wants to make me come into my job. I can choose to be at home, staying safe, practicing social distancing, sheltering in place with my family, but at the same time, there's still income coming in, right? We can still continue to enjoy the lifestyle that we're looking for. And so, I encourage everybody, keep an open mind when you're looking at opportunities, and whatever you do, make sure that you go out and add some additional income streams for you and your family. So other than that, everybody stay safe, continue to practice that social distancing, and enjoy time at home with your family. I know we can at times get on each other's nerves, but we also tend to ignore some of that quality time, when we're in our normal mode of operations, right? We're out there multitasking, working 2, 3, 4 jobs, and, in this club and activity and social group. And sometimes we forget about the small things. And so right now, we've just been cooking at home more, right? So seeing that we're saving money from not eating out, eating a lot healthier, eating a lot cleaner, and then also just enjoying time at home with the family. So I encourage everybody to take advantage of this moment. This too shall pass. And so keep your head up, keep pressing forward. And again, Patricia, I can't thank you enough for allowing me this opportunity to share with all of your listeners.
You're so welcome. Thank you. And this is definitely an opportunity where we're all getting a chance to be a little bit more thankful, a little bit more grateful for our family and just for the simple things. We just want to thank you again for the knowledge and the information. You've been listening to Mr. Terrence Moore, my brother from another mother, and you can see his beautiful family all the way from Detroit, Michigan. Got on the line with me today just to share with you about CBD, not THC, a $22 billion industry trending to be that amount in the year 2022. So there's lots of opportunity on the table. If you want to know more, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Hit me up. Let me know what you think. Ask your questions, and we can definitely connect you with Terrence, or we can have him back on a future episode. This has been Walk It Talk It. This is your host, Patricia. Talk to you later.